"We will make America great again, because God is on our side." Those were the booming words of Donald Trump that rang out from the speakers at a crowded rally in Sacramento on a cool spring evening. In a modest family living room in a suburban neighborhood of Oakland, California, these words echoed from an aging flat-screen TV perched on a worn credenza. The sound was loud and insistent, reverberating off the faded floral wallpaper and echoing in the minds of every listener. Yet it was young Emily, barely 7 years old, who felt an inexplicable shiver run down her spine as she listened, captivated by the force behind every syllable. In that same living room, bathed in the warm glow of a table lamp and the flicker of the television screen, Emily sat cross-legged on a plush, threadbare rug. Her big, curious eyes absorbed every detail of the images on screen, though the political jargon was as new to her as the scent of rain on summer pavement. For Emily, the idea that God is on our side was not a rallying cry meant to inspire patriotism through power plays. It was a concept that had always meant safety, love, and unwavering support. Up until that moment, her understanding of God was gentle and nurturing, a divine presence that offered comfort when nights were dark and storms raged outside. Now, the statement seemed to clash violently with everything she had known. Her parents, engrossed in their own discussion about the day's events and the logistics of tomorrow's errands, hardly noticed that Emily's attention had shifted from the screen to a realm of questioning and wonder. The confident, booming voice from the podium seemed to try to impose a new reality, one where faith was weaponized as a badge of honor in the political arena. To young Emily, whose world was built on simple truths and bedtime stories about angels and kindness, the words felt like a puzzle whose pieces didn't quite fit together with her cherished vision of unconditional love and protection. As the rally footage continued, the voice of the speaker grew in intensity, and every subsequent phrase only deepened the confusion in Emily's heart. She recalled the gentle, reassuring stories her grandmother once shared about how faith meant kindness and moral courage, a kind of faith that was felt quietly in the heart rather than boomed from a stage. The sudden collision of these loud political claims with the soft, intimate ideas of faith left her with a profound sense of unease. She began to wonder how it could be that the same word God, which in her small world symbolized the ultimate safeguard and provider of hope, could also be harnessed to mobilize crowds and polarize opinions. Outside the living room, the hum of the city's evening life provided a stark contrast to the charged atmosphere inside the house. The old grandfather clock in the corner ticked steadily, its measured rhythm almost mocking the rapid-fire rhetoric on the screen. In that moment, the familiar boundaries of her safe, orderly world were blurred by the intrusion of politics, a realm where words were not simply spoken but wielded like weapons. Emily's small heart pounded as she struggled to reconcile the comforting images of Sunday mornings spent at church with a divisive tone now infiltrating every conversation on the television. That evening, as the final notes of the political speech faded into the background, Emily sat in silence, her mind whirring with unanswered questions. She felt as if the very foundation of her simple world had been rocked. The once clear image of faith, a source of gentle light, had been splintered by a barrage of adult ideologies that she could neither fully understand nor control. In that living room, surrounded by the faded portraits of family memories and the familiar hum of everyday life, Emily experienced her first true encounter with the power of political speech, a moment that would forever alter her understanding of the interplay between belief, identity, and the messy reality of adulthood. Though the rally was over, the impact of those words lingered in every corner of the house. Emily's parents would later discuss the implications of using sacred language for political gain, but for her, the experience had already planted a seed of doubt. It was a seed that would grow into a complex web of questions about trust, truth, and the true meaning of faith in an ever-changing world. On that cool spring evening in Oakland, as the echoes of a national slogan reverberated off the walls of a humble living room, young Emily's journey into the nuanced realm of adult convictions had quietly begun. In a comfortable suburb of Oakland, California, Emily's everyday life unfolded like a well-worn favorite book. The modest home at 1422 Maple Street stood proudly among rows of similarly aged houses with neatly trimmed lawns, mature oak trees, and picket fences that spoke of tradition and stability. In this tranquil American setting, life was a tapestry woven from the threads of simple routines, heartfelt family values, and community traditions that had been passed down through generations. Emily's mornings began with the gentle chime of her alarm clock, a small digital device that cast a soft red glow on the ceiling. As the first rays of sunlight peeked through the window, she would wake to the comforting sounds of her mother humming in the kitchen and the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the scent of homemade pancakes. Her mother, Rebecca, was a librarian at the local branch of the Oakland Public Library, a place where every book was a gateway to a new adventure and every visitor carried a story of their own. Rebecca believed that knowledge was the cornerstone of a meaningful life, and she imbued in Emily a curiosity that extended far beyond the confines of their cozy home. Her father, Michael, an engineer with a passion for tinkering with gadgets and solving everyday problems, balanced the rational with the heartfelt. Michael was a firm believer in learning through experience. Every evening, after returning from a long day at the manufacturing plant on the outskirts of the city, he would sit down with Emily to explain the wonders of science, the mechanics of simple machines, and the quiet dignity of hard work. He always made time for her, using everyday events, a broken toaster, the hum of an engine, to illustrate lessons about perseverance, logic, and the beauty of problem-solving. In this family, tradition and modernity existed side by side. The walls of their living room were decorated with framed photos of family vacations at Lake Tahoe, birthday parties in the local park, and candid snapshots from community picnics. A large hand-woven quilt, stitched together by Rebecca's mother, draped over the back of a worn but sturdy sofa, symbolizing the continuity of family history and the comfort of shared memories. Here, in the warm glow of evening light, conversations about school, friends, and everyday triumphs and disappointments flowed as naturally as the breeze through the open window. At school, Emily's world expanded beyond the borders of her neighborhood. Her elementary school, Jefferson Elementary, was a melting pot of cultures, where children from various backgrounds came together to learn, laugh, and grow. In Mrs. Thompson's classroom, bright posters about the American flag, the Statue of Liberty, and the diverse heritage of the United States adorned the walls. Lessons weren't confined to textbooks. They were also found in group projects, shared lunches, and the simple act of recess on the sun-dappled playground. Emily's teacher encouraged her students to celebrate differences and to see the beauty in the varied stories each child brought with them. After school, Emily would often race home, her backpack bouncing against her shoulders, excited to share the day's adventures with her family. In the small kitchen, where the clatter of dishes mixed with the laughter of siblings, dinner was a time for reunion. The table was set with mismatched plates, a testament to the family's humble charm, and the conversation always veered towards small acts of kindness. The neighbor who helped fix a broken fence, the local store owner who always greeted everyone with a smile, or the community center that hosted weekend events for families. Every anecdote, every shared memory, reinforced a sense of belonging and a belief that the world, in its quiet way, was a place of mutual support. The neighborhood itself was a vibrant extension of Emily's world. Long-standing residents greeted one another on morning walks, while weekend farmers markets filled the streets with the aroma of fresh produce and homemade goods. Here, in the heart of Oakland's suburban sprawl, community events such as 4th of July barbecues, charity runs, and local festivals were a testament to a spirit of unity and tradition. Even as modern challenges crept into daily life, the local residents clung to values of honesty, mutual respect, and a shared belief in the simple goodness of humanity. In the comforting embrace of this world, Emily found solace and inspiration. The small joys, a handwritten note from her best friend, a carefully pruned rose in the front yard, or the rhythmic tapping of rain against the window during a lazy afternoon, formed the backdrop of her childhood. These moments were imbued with a sense of certainty, a feeling that despite the complexities of adult life, there was always a place where love and community reigned supreme. In the gentle cadence of everyday routines, Emily's world was one of stability and hope, a safe harbor amid the larger, sometimes tumultuous narratives that played out on national television. Yet, within this idyllic setting, even the most serene existence was not immune to the ripples caused by the loud, discordant voices of politics. The sheltered environment of her family and community had shielded her from the harsher realities until now, but the seeds of doubt and curiosity had been sown. In a world where the simple truths of home life clashed with the polarizing rhetoric of public figures, Emily's journey toward understanding was only just beginning. It was here, in this quintessential American neighborhood, with its blend of tradition, modernity, and an unyielding faith in the everyday, that Emily's story unfolded, shaping her perceptions of truth, identity, and the complex dance between politics and personal values. In the days following that fateful evening, when the rally's reverberations began to seep out of the living room and into every corner of the community, Oakland found itself caught up in a storm of conflicting opinions. News outlets, local radio shows, and online forums were abuzz with analysis and debate over Trump's latest declaration that God is on our side. The once familiar language of faith was now being wielded as a political tool, a means to rally supporters and deepen divides. In coffee shops on Telegraph Avenue and on the busy sidewalks near City Hall, neighbors discussed the statement with fervor, their voices rising in passionate arguments that carried the weight of deeply held beliefs. Social media, too, became an echo chamber of polarized opinions. Posts, tweets, and video clips proliferated rapidly, each one dissecting and debating the meaning behind the claim. For many, the words resonated as a call to reclaim traditional American values, a promise of unity in the face of modern challenges. For others, the invocation of God in political rhetoric was seen as a dangerous conflation of sacred belief and statecraft, a move that risked alienating those whose spirituality was far more personal and inclusive than any political slogan could capture. The online battlefield was relentless, and every comment or shared post seemed to deepen the fissure in public opinion. At Jefferson Elementary, where Emily spent her days among friends and learning about the world, the effects of the national debate began to seep in. Teachers found themselves fielding questions that went beyond math and reading. In hushed tones, children discussed what they had overheard at home, snatches of heated conversations between parents, the serious faces of neighbors, and even the somber expressions of community leaders on local television. Mrs. Thompson tried to explain that history was often complex and that public figures sometimes used grand language to express hope, but these lessons, meant for mature minds, fell on ears still grappling with simple truths. For Emily, the confusion was profound. In her small, unassuming mind, the idea that a revered figure like God could be co-opted by a political leader was both baffling and deeply unsettling. Each time she overheard adults debating the merits of Trump's statement, she felt an aching divide within her own heart, a personal wound inflicted by the collision of two worlds she had believed were separate. The certainty that once defined her understanding of faith began to splinter, replaced by a murky uncertainty that left her feeling vulnerable and exposed. At home, the atmosphere grew heavier with each passing day. The living room, once a sanctuary of family warmth, became a quiet battleground of contrasting views. Her mother, Rebecca, would listen intently to the radio or read the local newspaper, her brows furrowing as she absorbed the commentary from pundits and civic leaders. Michael, ever the practical thinker, tried to explain that politics often used lofty language to inspire, but that the reality of faith was something personal and far removed from the spectacle of a campaign rally. Yet, these explanations, although well-meant, did little to mend the tiny fissure in Emily's heart. One evening, as the family gathered around the dinner table for a modest meal of meatloaf and mashed potatoes, the conversation turned once again to the recent events. The table, scarred with the remnants of past celebrations and daily dinners alike, bore witness to a discussion that was as earnest as it was painful. Rebecca gently explained, "Emily, sometimes grown-ups say things that sound confusing because they are trying to express strong feelings. But remember, your faith is your own, and it is about love and kindness, not about politics." Michael nodded, adding, "There are many opinions out there, and not all of them will make sense to you right now. What matters most is that you always hold on to the goodness in your heart." Despite their reassurances, the ripple effects of the political discourse continued to affect Emily. Every time a television screen flickered on with footage of rallies, every mention of God in the context of political slogans reopened the wound inside her. It was as if the sacred had been marred by the clamor of competing ideologies, leaving her with an uneasy sensation that the pure, gentle force of faith was now tainted by division and strife. Outside the home, the community itself seemed split into two distinct camps. Neighbors who had once greeted each other with warm smiles now exchanged cautious nods and guarded greetings. At local events, a town hall meeting at the community center, a charity fundraiser in the park, the conversations invariably shifted to politics. In one such meeting held at the Oakland Civic Auditorium, a local analyst remarked, "When political leaders invoke God's name to justify their vision for America, it not only simplifies complex issues but also risks hurting those who find solace in a more personal, less politicized relationship with their faith." His words, broadcast over the speakers and later discussed on local blogs, resonated deeply with many residents, including the parents who worried about the impact on their children. For Emily, the cacophony of conflicting voices was overwhelming. In the quiet moments before sleep, she would lie awake in her small bedroom adorned with posters of inspirational quotes and scenic photographs of California's rugged coastline. The softness of her quilt and the hum of the night seemed insufficient to soothe the tumult within her. In those solitary hours, the division between the comforting teachings of her youth and the harsh rhetoric of the day blurred into a single unyielding ache. Thus, the public reaction, fueled by passionate debates, divisive rhetoric, and a media landscape that rarely offered a neutral perspective, wove itself into the very fabric of Emily's life. The innocent clarity of childhood was challenged by the complexities of adult discourse. As the community polarized over issues that were far removed from the simplicity of her earlier experiences, Emily was forced to confront the unsettling reality that even the most sacred words could be weaponized, leaving a lasting imprint on a young, impressionable soul. In this way, the public clamor over Trump's declaration not only ignited fierce debates on city streets and online forums, but also inflicted a personal wound on a small girl whose world had until then been defined by the simple certainties of home, school, and community. The collision of these conflicting realms marked the beginning of a long introspective journey, one in which Emily would slowly learn to navigate the troubled waters of political discourse while holding on to the purity of her inner faith. In the aftermath of the heated public debates and the relentless barrage of opinions that had shaken their community, Emily's family resolved to reclaim the sense of safety and understanding that once defined their home. The living room, with its familiar creaks and the soft ticking of the grandfather clock, soon became the setting for nightly family discussions aimed at untangling the confusion wrought by the political rhetoric. It was during one of these evenings, when the golden light of dusk filtered through the window blinds, that a genuine heartfelt conversation began to unfold at the dinner table. Seated around a large well-worn wooden table in their modest dining room, the family gathered for their customary meal. The table itself, scarred by years of use yet polished by the care of many loving hands, served as a tangible reminder of the strength and continuity of family bonds. Rebecca, always gentle yet determined, initiated the discussion. "Emily," she said softly, "I know that some of the things you've heard lately sound confusing and even a little frightening. But remember, not every word you hear is meant to hurt you. Sometimes, people use strong language to express their emotions, even when they don't fully understand what they are saying." Michael, who had spent countless evenings working on projects in the garage and tinkering with engines in his small workshop, leaned forward to add his perspective. "Sweetheart," he explained, "the world of politics is complicated. Grown-ups often use big words and loud voices because they believe it will bring people together or make them feel stronger. But the truth is, real faith is something you carry inside. It isn't something you can shout about from a stage." His tone was calm and measured, a stark contrast to the bombastic speeches that had unsettled Emily. As the conversation continued, the family's matriarch, Emily's beloved grandmother Lorraine, joined in. Sitting in her favorite rocking chair that had been in the family for decades, Lorraine recalled memories of her own youth in a small Midwestern town. "When I was your age," she began, her voice soft with nostalgia, "I too was confused by the big words and loud voices of adults. I learned that every person has their own way of showing love and hope. It isn't in the grand declarations, but in the everyday acts of kindness and understanding." Her words, delivered with the wisdom of experience, resonated deeply with Emily, who clung to every syllable as if it were a lifeline. At that moment, the conversation turned personal. Emily, who had so far listened quietly, finally found the courage to express her feelings. With trembling lips and tear-bright eyes, she admitted, "I just don't understand why they use God's name like that. In my heart, God means safety, kindness, and being together as a family. It makes me sad to hear it used to make people fight." Her small voice carried a sincerity that left the room silent for a long, thoughtful pause. Rebecca reached across the table to gently take Emily's hand. "It's perfectly all right to feel confused, sweetheart," she assured her. "Sometimes, even the things that are meant to bring us comfort can be used in ways that make us feel lost. But that's why we have each other, to help explain and to guide us when things seem too big to understand." Michael nodded in agreement, emphasizing that while the world outside might be full of competing voices, the love shared within the family was a constant, unchanging truth. Over the course of the evening, the family delved deeper into the nature of truth and belief. Michael recounted stories from his own childhood in rural Ohio, where the simplicity of daily life and the warmth of community events had taught him that real strength came from understanding and empathy rather than empty slogans. Rebecca shared anecdotes from her years at the library, where she had seen firsthand how literature could open hearts and minds, bridging the gap between conflicting ideas. Lorraine, with a wistful smile, recalled times when neighbors came together to help rebuild after storms or fires, illustrating that genuine faith was reflected in action rather than in the loud proclamations of a public figure. As the discussion unfolded, the family began to realize that while the political rhetoric outside could be overwhelming, it was only one part of a larger tapestry of life. In their home, where each member contributed a thread of love, understanding, and resilience, there existed a sanctuary that could withstand even the most turbulent debates. The conversation at the dinner table became a microcosm of the broader quest for truth, a journey marked by the interplay of words, feelings, and shared experiences. In that sacred space of familial intimacy, Emily slowly began to grasp that while the world outside was often divided by loud voices and conflicting messages, the essence of faith lay in the quiet, everyday moments. It was in the tender embrace of a parent, the reassuring nod of a grandparent, and the unspoken bond shared by a family united in love. The dialogue continued late into the evening, moving seamlessly from the realm of politics into that of personal growth and moral courage. By the time the family retired for the night, the seed of understanding had been planted. The conversation, far from providing all the answers, had illuminated a path toward discerning the difference between the noise of public debate and the enduring values that lived within each of them. For Emily, this night of earnest dialogue marked the beginning of a slow but steady journey toward reconciling the external chaos with the inner sanctuary of her heart. It was a lesson that would continue to guide her as she navigated the complexities of a world where words, however powerful, must always be weighed against the quiet truths of love and family. Months passed since that unsettling evening, and slowly, Emily's life began to settle into a new rhythm, a rhythm that allowed her to reconcile the harsh echoes of political rhetoric with the enduring warmth of her family and community. In the soft light of dawn over Oakland, as the city stirred to life, Emily discovered that understanding the world was not an instantaneous epiphany but a gradual journey marked by small victories, reflective moments, and the unwavering support of those who cared for her. Every morning, as she walked the familiar route to Jefferson Elementary, Emily found solace in the everyday sights and sounds of her neighborhood. The gentle hum of cars on Maple Street, the laughter of children playing in the park, and the comforting aroma of freshly baked bread from the local bakery all served as reminders that life was filled with beauty and continuity, despite the occasional storm of controversy. The political headlines that once filled the living room now receded into the background, replaced by the quiet rhythms of daily life that offered their own form of wisdom. At school, Mrs. Thompson encouraged the students to explore the complexities of history and society through engaging projects and open discussions. The classroom, decorated with posters of American icons and inspirational quotes, became a space where questions were welcomed and every opinion was valued. In group activities and collaborative projects, Emily learned to listen to different perspectives, finding that every voice, no matter how small, had a story to tell. It was here, amid the chatter of curious classmates and the guidance of a compassionate teacher, that Emily discovered the beauty of critical thinking and the importance of empathy. Home, too, had transformed into a sanctuary of quiet resilience. The ongoing discussions around the dinner table were now infused with a sense of acceptance and reflection. Michael and Rebecca had gradually shifted from debating the politics of the day to focusing on the values that truly mattered: kindness, honesty, and the belief that each individual was responsible for creating a better world through everyday actions. Their conversations were no longer filled with the bitter echoes of public discord, but with the soft, reassuring cadence of lessons learned through life's trials. They spoke of their own youthful uncertainties and the gradual process of growing into a worldview that embraced both the complexity and the inherent goodness of humanity. Community events played an essential role in Emily's journey toward understanding. In the vibrant neighborhood of Oakland, local organizations organized charity drives, neighborhood cleanups, and cultural festivals that celebrated the rich diversity of the area. Emily began to participate in these events, sometimes as a volunteer collecting books for children's shelter, other times as a keen observer of the myriad ways in which people came together to uplift one another. Each event was a living demonstration of the fact that, despite the cacophony of political slogans, the heart of the community beat in unison with the simple desire to help and support one another. In the quiet hours of the early evening, when the day's clamor gave way to reflective silence, Emily found herself drawn to a small notebook in which she began to record her thoughts and feelings. With each scribbled line, she pieced together the lessons learned from family conversations, school debates, and community gatherings. The act of writing became a meditative process, a way to distill the overwhelming complexity of the world into the simple enduring truths that had always guided her: compassion, understanding, and the courage to question even the most deeply held assumptions. There were moments, too, when the memories of that first painful encounter with political rhetoric would resurface. Late at night, as she lay in her bed beneath the soft glow of a nightlight shaped like a star, Emily would recall the confusion and sadness that had once clouded her understanding of faith. But with time, those memories began to lose their sharpness. In their place emerged a more nuanced perspective, one that acknowledged the imperfections of public discourse while reaffirming the power of personal connection and inner strength. One crisp autumn afternoon, while walking home from school along a tree-lined street in Oakland, Emily paused to watch a group of neighbors working together to plant new trees in a community park. The scene, simple yet profound, struck a chord within her. Here were people from all walks of life, young professionals, retired teachers, local business owners, united by a common purpose that transcended politics. In that moment, Emily realized that while public debates might continue to polarize opinions, The true measure of a community's strength lay in its ability to come together and nurture growth, both in nature and in the hearts of its citizens. By now, the journey toward understanding had become a steady, if sometimes challenging, path for Emily. She learned that true comprehension did not come from the loud proclamations of political leaders, but from quiet reflection, open dialogue, and the willingness to embrace the complexities of life. Her inner world, once shaken by the jarring clash of conflicting messages, now resonated with the soft harmonies of hope and resilience, a harmony echoed in the laughter of friends, the supportive words of her parents, and the enduring beauty of an Oakland sunrise. In embracing reality, Emily discovered that every challenge carried within it the seed of growth. The painful memories of past confusion were now interwoven with new experiences of understanding and compassion. With each passing day, she became more adept at filtering out the noise and focusing on the values that had been instilled in her from the very beginning. The belief that kindness, empathy, and unwavering love could light even the darkest of paths. In this way, the tumultuous events that had once seemed so overwhelming transformed into stepping stones on a lifelong journey of learning and self-discovery. Thus, in the gentle unfolding of time, Emily found herself not defined by the polarizing slogans of a political era but by the quiet strength of a heart that had learned to seek truth in the everyday, to find beauty in the imperfect, and to embrace the complexity of a world that was as challenging as it was profoundly full of promise. Her journey, still in its early chapters, was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a journey that would continue to shape her understanding of what it meant to be both an individual and a part of a larger, interconnected community.